The Green Bay Packers dominated the Saints on Monday Night Football Week 16. Now they get to travel up to Minnesota to take on Sam Darnold and the Vikings in a much-anticipated NFC North matchup. My name is Tyler, here with my brother Ryan, and we're going to break down this Week 17 matchup between the Packers and Vikings. But before we get into that, Ryan and I, we want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. We hope you all have a phenomenal week with your friends and family. If you like the work that we put out and also are excited for a lot of off-season content, be sure to subscribe to the Tracy Take, tackle that bell to get notified when videos come out, and leave a like and a comment. Let us know who you think will win this phenomenal game and why. Ryan, this game is the game of the week on Sunday, I will say, because there's a lot of already pre-games going on Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday because of this unique week. But this game even got flexed to the game of the week, so 4 o'clock Eastern time start. And rightly so. We were talking about it. Potentially should have been Sunday Night Football, but my Falcons, they had to take that spot. Now that they have control of their destiny, but we're not going to talk about my Falcons because of how lucky we got. But Tampa Bay, this Monday Night Football game, I think, went exactly how we all thought it would go. Like, it was kind of hard to tell, really, like what was like how great the Packers were, just because I think the Saints were so bad and the Packers are, well, I guess that great, 34-0 victory. The Minnesota Vikings had a great win against Seattle on the road. That's a tough place to go and play. Phenomenal comeback by Sam Darnold with what a stellar touchdown pass to Justin Jefferson to take the lead. It was a great one. And so this is going to be an exciting game. That both these teams met earlier this year. It feels like a long time ago. And it was week 4. And the unique thing about that was a game Jordan Love came back from his sprained ankle injury. And what's really interesting about that, Vikings came out hot, like got Packers offense like really off kilter, went into halftime 28-7, and then the Packers were able to come back hot and heavy in the fourth quarter, scoring 22 points, falling just short, 31-29 with the Vikings victory. Vikings only put up 3 points in the second half, and but these teams have both changed a lot since then. A lot of people have a lot more confidence in Sam Darnold leading this offense. Green Bay Packers seem to be that December team that we remember from last year that before.
It's the Toyota-thon.
Pretty much, honestly, yeah. So, and want to throw it over to you. What are some of the key aspects for both of these teams that they need to focus on to come out victorious here in Week 17?
Yeah, I think for the Minnesota Vikings, I think just kind of keep doing their thing. Get after Jordan Love, get the ball in the hands of their playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. Like, they have a great receiving core. Aaron Jones is having a great season. They're running the ball pretty well. So, I think they're doing a good job. For me, if I'm the Packers, I'm doing everything I can to get pressure on Sam Darnold. To me, I think he's having a great season, and don't get me wrong, but I definitely think if you look at this offense, he's the weak link. Like, if you're going to try to throw Justin Jefferson or Jordan Addison or Jalen Naylor or TJ Hawkinson off their game and take all those guys away from Sam Darnold, I think that's going to be so much harder than it would be just to try to get after Sam Darnold. Maybe take some risks on the back end. Nothing too crazy. Like, I'm not saying go cover 0 and send 7 guys on every single play, but try to get after Sam Darnold, make him a little uncomfortable, because I think he has shown in the past that he is a little fallible under pressure. And then on the offensive side of the ball, this Vikings defense, I believe, is the second best rushing defense in the league right now, giving up about 89 yards a game. And they, to me, have to find a way to get the ball in the hands of their playmakers. And I think Josh Jacobs, this offense, when he has been running the ball well, that's when they find their grooves, is they get the play action going. They get the ball into Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, Christian Watson. If he's healthy, he did get banged up in the third quarter of this Saints game. So if he's healthy, Tucker Kraft, Luke Musgrave looked like he was dressed tonight. But I don't know if he actually got into the game or not. He's coming back from an injury.
He had one target. So
he had one target. Okay. And so just that, to me, I think these two teams have two different approaches to offensive weapons. The Vikings have elite talent that kind of brings everybody else up with them, with Justin Jefferson, and then Jordan Addison is a great complement to that, and then Jalen Naylor, TJ Hawkinson kind of down there. Whereas I feel like the Packers have 7 different guys that they could make a focal point of their offense in any given week, or really like any given series. And so it's just two different approaches is really interesting to watch, and I'm really excited for this one. This is probably my most excited, or the game I'm most excited for this week.
Well, what's going to be wild though too is in like how excited we are for this game. Then you're going to have the Vikings and Lions play
I know.
If the Vikings win, like for home field advantage,
Mm-hmm.
And so you think you're excited now. Let's just see what happens with this game. But that was going to be my point exactly. Is Justin Jefferson is an absolute stud. He's such a stud that like Jordan Addison would be a good receiver on any team, but I think Justin Jefferson's presence is what makes Jordan Addison a phenomenal number 2 for this team. And like, it's tough, I think, for this Packers team or not just the Packers team, but any defense to try and match up against them. Because to your point, it is kind of like pick your poison, It's going to be interesting, Aaron Jones going up against his former team as well. If you go look at the last matchup that they played, Aaron Jones had a really good game, 22 carries, 93 yards. He didn't have a touchdown. Did also have 4 catches for 46 yards. So this defensive front seven is going to have to make sure that they keep Aaron Jones in check as well. Because as you said, though, the secondary is going to have a tough time already with the elite cast of characters over on the Minnesota Vikings side. But to your point, though, too, about Sam Darnold being the weak link, I think then this is Jordan Love, I think, is kind of the link that keeps everything together for Green Bay. Their skill position players aren't amazing like how they are in the Vikings, but they fit so well within this system. Jordan Love has been playing well in this system this season. Not as good a year as he was having last year, but he's been battling some injuries. But the team as a whole offensively has been kicking things together. And Josh Jacobs has been the massive improvement in that running game. And that, to me, is going to be the overall X factor. And to your point, the Packers are 4th overall in rushing yards per game, averaging just shy of 150 rushing yards. But to your point, Vikings are 2nd overall in rushing yards allowed defensively. And that's going to be the matchup overall on how effective they can be. I feel like we didn't get to fully see when these teams first played how well the Packers could potentially run the ball against Minnesota, because Minnesota got such a big lead so early, kind of abandoned the run. They only had 19 carries for 86 yards. I think in your fantasy actually championship with Josh Jacobs, I do think Josh Jacobs and company are going to have a good running day against this Minnesota Vikings team. I think they're going to have over 100 yards. That's not something Minnesota has done often. I
think he could have a really good fantasy day. I don't necessarily know if it's going to be in the running game in particular. Well, I will say
this. So Minnesota only gave up 59 rushing yards to Seattle. But if you look at the past 3 weeks before that, they gave up 113 to Chicago in week 15, 158 to Atlanta, and then 154 to Arizona. Atlanta and Arizona are some of the top rushing teams. Atlanta's 12th and Arizona's 5th. So there are some vulnerabilities, I think, here to this Vikings team. They had a really good first half performance a year, I think, which helps skew out just where they're ranking now currently. But over the past couple of weeks, not against Seattle. Seattle isn't one of the best rushing teams in general because of their weak offensive line. But Green Bay has a solid offensive line. And I think they could potentially exploit this front seven of Minnesota. And Josh Jacobs, I think, could have a decent rushing game, as well as catching the ball out of the backfield as well.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say is I feel like if Green Bay is struggling to run the ball, the other thing that I think that they could do really well is use some of Minnesota's aggressiveness against them, because Minnesota is has one of the highest blitz rates in the league. Brian Flores loves to be aggressive, put the pressure on the quarterback. I could definitely see Josh Jacobs catching a handful of passes here and getting outside in space and making some plays there. So I think there will be multiple ways that the Packers will utilize the quote unquote run game, where on this channel we kind of joke they're running the ball through the air, where it's they're just completing really highly efficient passes to simulate a run game that may or may not be there otherwise. So this is a really exciting matchup. I think both of these teams have done a phenomenal job this year in very different ways. I think the Packers, with some of the injuries that they've had, have done a good job of having a next man up mentality, speaking to the Jordan Love, Malik Willis situation. The Minnesota Vikings, I think Kevin O'Connell is coach of the year. He's done a fantastic job with Sam Darnold and just bringing this offense along after the J.J. McCarthy injury in the preseason. Brian Flores he's probably going to get another chance at being a head coach here this offseason, just with how well he's coached up this defense. So I'm really excited for this one. Tyler, you are leading our season-long picks competition. I'm going to throw it over to you. Who do you think comes out ahead in this matchup?
Yeah, this is just going to I was thinking about this as well because I'm trying to secure a big enough league going to Week 18 so I don't have to worry about you potentially coming from behind again and beating me. This matchup here, though, I think one of the things, too, that you said earlier about Sam Darnold being the weak link for this Minnesota Vikings offense, I think that's true, but I think it's also unfair to Sam Darnold and the season that he's having. Yeah, I know you didn't mean it as a shot to him, but it is, to be fair, if you look at the skill position players around, and the way this offensive line is playing, it kind of is a little bit. However, there is one thing that Minnesota has just statistically struggled to run the ball a little bit. They're 17th overall in rushing yards per game, 111 when it comes to rushing yards per game. And if you look at the Green Bay Packers defense, they're 7th in rushing yards allowed, averaging just barely over 100 rushing yards per game. I think that they're going to really have to rely on Sam Darnold to have those games, this big games, and rely on the skill position player receivers. Well, on the flip side, though, Packers offense can be a little bit more balanced. And that way to me, I think there are some things you can exploit in the running game for this Minnesota Vikings team, but also then too as well when it comes to their secondary as a whole. And I know Minnesota Vikings, they played really well. They have one of the better defenses in the league. I think Brian Flores does a great job scheming up, setting all their players up for success. But against this Matt LaFleur offense, I think this time it's just not going to work out. They figured something out in week 4, and that was week 4, where they're able to put up a bunch of late points. I wouldn't be surprised if it's something similar as well, where maybe the Vikings get a lead, but then Packers are a second half team and can start coming back and take the lead late. So I'm going to go with Green Bay in this matchup here. Vikings fans, I know I apologize. I can absolutely see myself being wrong on this. I'm wrong a lot, not as wrong as Ryan, as I'm winning in our season-long competition. But I'm going to go with the Packers here in this game.
I'm really torn in this matchup.
Oh, this is a tough. This is as coin flip.
Well, so I was going to pick the Packers, and honestly, the main reason is I have Josh Jacobs, and I'm rooting for them, and I need Josh Jacobs to have a really good game in the fantasy championship of Week 17. But since you picked the Packers, I'll go with Minnesota. This is a toss-up game. I'm now trying to rack my brain for reasons why I'm picking Minnesota, but Sam Darnold this season, for the most part, has stepped up in these moments.
He's played well.
And he's had a phenomenal season. I also think it's going to be really hard for the Packers to slow down this group of skill position players, because Aaron Jones, fantastic wide receiver out of the backfield. Justin Jefferson, probably the best receiver in the league. I think it's him. You have Jamar Chase, a few other guys, I think, in that conversation. Yeah. But Justin Jefferson, I think, is, when I think of the best wide receiver in the league, that's the first name that comes to mind. Jordan Addison, great 1B wide receiver. Jalen Naylor, TJ Hawkinson. I think it's just going to be so hard for this Packers team to slow down this Vikings offense. And on the flip side, Jordan Love has been prone to some mistakes this year. And I think, just looking at this matchup as a whole, it's a total coin flip. And I think based on our season-long competition, I'll take the Vikings to potentially get a game back here. So
I like it. It feels weird picking against. I picked the Packers, and it feels weird picking against Minnesota, because I'm with you. I could make arguments on why Minnesota can win this game, and so it's fun that we're going up against one another. We've got a lot at stake, a lot of pride at stake. We need to start putting some financial stuff on this. There's some embarrassing things we have to do for.
I don't have our Tracy. We need this podcast to take off before we start doing that.
That's true, actually. So please subscribe so we can make more money.
Yeah. Don't subscribe so we can make more money. Subscribe because it's the best way to support the channel. And if you like the content that we produce, that is the best way to show your support. Let's go ahead. Let's wrap this one up here. Leave a comment down below on who you think is going to come out ahead in this heated NFC North matchup. Will it be the Green Bay Packers? Will it be the Minnesota Vikings? Other than that, we'll see you guys next time.